Hey, good morning.
Well, I had a quick question.
A few questions.
Only one. No.
Only one, yeah.
Why was the name Torah utilized? What does it stand for?
Okay. I could give you four different answers to
Oh,
it,
I figured that. I knew it.
but
A question and four answers. You're getting a bargain.
I'll be simple. The simplest answer is that the term Torah has multiple meanings. Number one, we can expect it to mean that the term Torah as instruction. So it could be an individual law.
Okay.
Okay. Number two, it becomes the scroll, right, which contains a total amount of instruction. Okay. Number three, the term Torah then became the Masorah, the tradition, right, because we have the written Torah and the oral Torah. Okay, oral Torah, Talmud, Mishnah, Midrash, etc. Okay, and so therefore that term Torah then became the entirety of the written law, instruction, practice, things like that. Okay, so that would be a thumbnail answer. It's only three, but that's the best I could come up with, Harvey, on short notice. Okay.
Thank you.
When did it become the Torah that we call it?
You mean the scroll?
Yeah.
That probably was referred to already by the time of the rabbis, by
Oh.
the time of Chazal.
Uh-huh.
Okay. But you find the word Torah in the Torah itself, so to speak. Okay. Okay, we'll go through our sponsors and then we'll do a little search for Badika today.
Okay.
Okay.
Always good
All
to
right.
get a good start.
Year of Learning, Dr. Paul Koningsberg, in memory of his brother, Dr. Sam Koningsberg, Shimon Reuben ben Labish, and Ed Goldberg's cousin, Nisan Hara Nisan ben Fardosa. Paula and Bob Bromberg, in memory of their dear friend, Julian Smith, Yehuda ben Yisrael. Malcolm Mann, in memory of her family murdered in the Holocaust. Harav Tzvi Hirsch ben Shlomo Yaakov, Sarah bat Ephraim. Yisrael David ben Harav Tzvi Hirsch. Ephraim ben Harav Tzvi Hirsch. Adia bat Harav Tzvi Hirsch. Miriam bat Harav Tzvi Hirsch. Pesel bat Harav Tzvi Hirsch. Shalom ben Harav Tzvi Hirsch. Shlomo Yaakov ben Harav Tzvi Hirsch. Shmuel ben Harav Tzvi Hirsch. Many friends of Dr. Marvin Blush. Moshe Shalom ben Yitzchak Halevi. Friends of Toby Peres. Saratova bat Yisrael Dov. Friends of Malka Levi. Malka bat Yosef. Friends of Avi Gitler. Avrameir ben Shimon. Cheryl Scher, her children and grandchildren. In memory of her uncle, founding member of BRS, Dr. Israel Brook, Yisrael ben Harav Akiva. Marcia Federbush and family. In memory of her husband, Dr. Uriel Paul Federbush, Uriel ben Harav Shimon. Month of Learning by Gila and Harold Saltzman in memory of her mother, Eti bat Yitzchak Elchanan, Chaim and Phyllis Reese, in memory of his father, Mordechai ben Yom Tov Lipa, Phyllis and Chaim Reese, in memory of her father, Pinchas ben Avraham. A Week of Learning by Ron and Susan Podolsky, in memory of his mother, Fredel Bas Shraga Feivel. Today is December 1st, so that is it for today. May Hashem's heaven aliyah, crank Rafir Velti Shir Shem Atzliah, and L'chol B'nai Yisrael a good gebenched yar.
Amen.
Okay? All right. Okay. We stopped a little bit on the top of Yud Amud Aleph. Right? We covered the couple lines. B'truma de Rabbanan, b'chametz deoraita mi'amrinan. Atu b'dikat chametz deoraita, since when? We said is b'dikat chametz deoraita, the Rabbanan he. Okay, why? The medeoraita b'bitul ba'al masagile.
Okay.
Why? Said the Gemara, because it's sufficient to do bittul in the heart, so to speak, in one's heart. In other words, mentally, right?
Nullify.
But rabbis required a further act, right? Now, we're now going to get into a long piece of Gemara that gives various other situations in terms of potential problems regarding Badika. We get about a half a dozen different cases, okay? So we understand that each case, they're going to bring the case, they're then going to present the situation and try to come up with an explanation, okay? All right, first example, okay? Actually, this is really the third case. If we go back and look at the others that were previous, okay? One was the Chulda, one was the Achbar. Now we continue. Third line on Yud Amud Aleph. Tzibur, all right? So actually, Tzibur Echad Shel Chometz. We have one pile of Chometz. V'lefanav Shtei Batim Bedukim. And in front of that pile are two houses that have been searched. Va'ata Achbar V'Shakal. Along comes a mouse, and he takes some of the leaven. V'lo yadinan ilahai al, and we don't know whether it went to this house or to the other house. Hainu, okay, so that's the case. And Gemara answers, Hainu shnei shvilin. That is similar to the example of two paths dealing with people who are going to do through a pathway in a field or in a piece of property. And we know for sure that one of the pathways has tuma. So the Gemara continues. The Tanan is taught, Shnei Shvilin, two pathways. Echad Tameh v'Echad Tahor. One will make the passerby Tameh, the other allows the passerby to remain Tahor. V'halach be'echad mehem, and one person went in one of the pathways. V'asa taharot, and then later he comes and he does something, truma, for example, or something else that deals with tuma and tara, okay, tara food, right? Uba chavero v'halach b'sheni, and along comes his neighbor who goes on the alternative path, the second path, v'asa taharot, and that person also becomes involved with tahor foods like truma. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, im nish'alu zeh b'fnei atzmo, v'zeh b'fnei atzmo, if they ask each one of them individually, tahorim, we say they are both, according to Rabbi Yehuda, tahor, because we don't really know which one for sure went on the tameh path. And so you can't say that a suffix is going to nullify their original tahor status, okay? Shneihen bevat echat, if both of them ask at the same time, right? Tme'in, they are both considered tameh. Why? Because certainly one of them at least must have gone, right, on the tameh path, and therefore there's a 50-50 chance that each one of them could have gone on the tameh path, and therefore they're both considered tameh. That is Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yossi Omer, bein kach uvein kach tme'in, regardless of the order in which they asked, says Rabbi Yossi, they're both tameh. Amar Rava, says Rava, ve'itema Rabbi Yehochanan, and others say it was Rabbi Yochanan, bevat echat divrei kol tme'in. Okay, his answer is if they both ask at the same time, they're both tamei. Bazeh achar zeh, if they ask one after another, divrei hakol tahorin, everybody considers them tahor. Lo nichlaku ela baba lahisha'el alav ve'al chaveiro. Okay, so according to Rabbah, the only machloket is where one comes and asks about himself and his neighbor at the same time. Rabbi Yossi medame le levat echad. Rabbi Yossi considers it as a situation if he asked, right, at one time. Rabbi Yehuda medame le leze achar zeh. And Rabbi Yehuda compares that situation as if it was asking one after the other. Okay? Now, given this situation, the Gemara tells us as follows, right? Safek al safek, lo al. Okay? We get to a new case, right? So we don't have an answer in that case. We just see that there was a machloket.
Right.
Right? Okay. Go on to another case. Safek al safek la al. Okay, coming back to our mouse. Okay, right? We don't know. There's the doubt whether the mouse, right, went into a searched house or not. Okay. Hainu bik'ah. That would be similar to the example of an open field, namely, and in that case, uplugta the Rabbi Elazar v'Rabbanan. That was a machloket of Rabbi Eliezer and the rabbis. Okay, that happened to be discussed in Art Scroll on note 13. Okay. Anyway, Ditznan. Now it refers to that what that machloket was. That was taught in a Mishnah. Hanichnas lebik'ah biyamot hagshamim. Okay. V'tum'ah b'sadeh plonit. One who goes into an open field during the rainy season. Okay. And there was tuma, perhaps a grave in that field. Right. Okay. Va'amar echad, and one says, halachti b'makom halaz. Okay, I went into that area, let's say. Right? Ve'eni yodea im nichnasti ba'oto sadah ve'im lo nichnasti. And I don't know, he says, whether I entered that particular field that had the grave in it or not. Rabbi Eliezer mataher. Rabbi Eliezer says he's tahor. V'chachamim mata'amim. And the sages, however, disagree, and they say he is tamei. Okay. Shahaya Rabbi Eliezer Omer, because Rabbi Eliezer used to say as follows: Safek bia tahor. If there's a doubt as to whether he entered that particular field with the grave, he still retains his tahor status. Safek maga tuma. But if there's a doubt where there was a question of contact with tuma, then he renders the person tamei. Okay. Now, what happens, says the Gemara? We go on. Okay. Another case. Al ubadak. Okay. The mouse went on. Okay. And then the person searched, right? After the mouse theoretically brought leaven into the searched house. V'lo ishkach. And he did not find, right? Oh, there we go. Right? So the mouse with the leaven entered the searched house, but we couldn't find either the mouse or remains of the leaven. Plugta the Rabbi Meir v'Rabbanan. Okay? We now have a machloket in that kind of a situation between Rabbi Meir and the rabbis. Ditznan, And this was how it was taught in that Mishnah. Haya Rabbi Meir Omer, that Rabbi Meir would say, Kol davar shebecheskat tuma, anything that is considered in a state of tuma, le'olam hu betumato. It remains always assumed to be tameh. Ad sheyodea lach hatuma hechan hu. Until you know, I'm going to fill in for sure, okay, where that tuma is. V'chachamim omrim, but the sages say, bodek ad shemagia l'sela, that in that situation, right, you could search until you reach either bedrock or shemagia l'sela, right, the ground floor, right, or virgin ground. Ola karka betula, or virgin ground. Okay, so that is another possibility. Another case. Al ubadak ve'eshkach. The mouse went now with leaven, entered the searched house, and you found, namely either the mouse or you found some of the chametz that the mouse brought in. Plugta the Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel. This is a machloket between Rabbi and Rabbi Shimon Gamliel, as taught in the following case. The Tanya and a Braita. Sadeh shene'avad bo kever. We have a field in which one, so to speak, lost, okay, or was not aware of the exact location, okay, of a grave. Hanichnas letocha tameh. One who enters that field, says the Braita, is tameh. Nimtza bakever. If you find, right, where the grave is, hanichnas letocha tahor. One who enters that field, okay, in a different part of the field, could still be tahor.
Right.
Sha'ani omer, because I say, in other words, we declare, right, that what happens, this is one view, probably Rebbe's view, kever she'abad, hu kever she'nimtza, divrei Rebbe. That's the view of Rebbe. The grave that was misplaced, so to speak, that's the grave we found. Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel Omer, he says the following, Tivdak kol hasodek kula, okay, that we have to tibadek, we have to search out the entire field before we can assume that the person it's free of tumor. Okay, another case, right? This is the example from the Bedika. Remember we said custom is that you put out 10 pieces. Okay. Hiniach teisha v'umatza asara. He put out 9 pieces and he found 10. Okay. In other words, right? Maybe a mouse came and dropped off another one. Plugta the Rebbe v'Rabbanan. This is a machloket between Rebbe and the rabbis. The Tanya. Again, this was taught in the following Braita. Hiniach mana umatza matayim. Okay, we're dealing now with money that's used for maaser sheni, right? Okay, if he put down a coin that was worth 100 and found 200, chulin umaser sheni, that it's both, right? Chulin and non-sacred money and maaser sheni money, mu'uravin zeh bazeh, and they're mixed together. Divrei Rebbe, okay? The view of the Rebbe is that they're mixed together. It's okay. V'chachamim amrim hakol chulin. Sages say that's all chulin. Flip that a case. Hiniach asara umatzah teisha. He put out 10 pieces of chametz for his search and only found 9, Hainu Sefer. That's the end of that same Braita. Why? The Tanya, because it taught there as follows. Hiniach matayim umatza mana. He put out 200 and only found 100. Right? Mana, monach, umana mutal. Divrei Rebbe. Rebbe's view, okay, is that he put 100 and 100 was removed. That was Rebbe's view. Right? Chachamim omrim hakol chulin. The sages say that it's all chulin, right? It's all non-sacred money. Okay. Same thing would apply to, of course, Rebbe's view of the search of the house, right? Sages would say the house has to be searched all over again. Another case on Yud Amud Bey's top. Hey, okay. Hiniach bezavit zo. What did he put in one corner? Let's say a certain amount of chametz in a particular corner. Umatzah bezavit acheret. And he found the chametz in a different corner. Plugta the Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel, the Rabbanan. Okay, that's another machloket. Right? Titania is taught in a Braita, similar to the following. Kardom she'ibad bevayit. A axe head, let's say, that was lost in a house. Habayat tameh. The house is tameh. Okay? Implication being that the axe could have been used in some manner, okay, and either the person who used it was tameh, or the axe could have been used and come in contact with something with tameh. She'ani omer. Why? Because again, I say, right, this is of course the view, right? Adam tameh nichnas l'sham v'nat lo. Okay, so that's the view of the rabbis, that some person who perhaps tameh handled the axe, put it back in a different place, and therefore that's the situation. Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel omer habaya tahor, that the house is tahor. She'ani omer, that I suggest, or I say, hish'ilu la'acher v'shachach, that the owner perhaps loaned it to a person and forgot. Or should not lu mizavit zo v'yanich b'zavit ha'acheret v'shachach. Or the owner of the axe or axe handle himself took it, used it, put it back in a different place. And forgot. Okay. So here the Gemara now picks up and wants to ask a question. Zavit man dechar shmei? Okay, in terms of a corner, that anybody, zachar, remembered. In other words, it's really mention it. Did anyone mention this? Where did this business of the corner come in? So Gemara answers, Chasuri michsura v'hachi katani. Something is missing in this Braita, and this is how we have to teach it. Kardom she'ibed babayit. Okay? Namely, we have an axe that was lost in the house. Habayit tameh, the house is considered tameh. She'ani omer, excuse me. Why? Because I say, Adam tameh nichnas l'sham, that it's possible that a person who was tameh entered there, v'nat lo, and took it. O shehenicho b'zavit zo, or the person put it in one corner, umatz'o b'zavit acheret, and then moved it to another corner, habayat tameh. the house is considered tameh. She'ani omer, Adam tameh nichnas l'sham, v'nat lo mizavit zo v'hinicho b'zavit acheret. Because it's possible that another person could have come into the house, taken the axe from one corner, used it, and that tameh person then put it back in a different location. Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel Omer, Habaya Tahor. He says the house is Tahor, Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel. She'ani Omer, because I claim, Hishilu la'acher v'shachach, that he loaned it to another and forgot. Or that he took it from one corner and put it back in another corner and forgot. Okay. Now, another case. Okay. Amar Rava, says Rava, Achbar nichnas ukikar b'fiv. A mouse, right, has come into the house, let's say, with a loaf of bread in its mouth.
Oh, boy.
I don't think a
That's a big mouse.
carry a whole loaf, but remember, think of it like a piece of pita, okay? The size of a small pita, right? That it might be possible for a mouse to carry, right?
Okay.
V'nichnas acharav, and the owner then enters the house, and what happens? Umatzah perurim, and he finds crumbs. Tzrich bedika. Then one has to do a second bedika in this case, right? If the house had been searched previously. Mipnei she'ein darko shel achbar lefarer, because it's not the usual practice of mice to make crumbs. Okay? They would either eat it all or they would bring it back to their hole, so to speak. Right? Va'amar Rava, and Rava further says, Tinok nichnas ukikar biado. A small child, okay, enters the house and he has a loaf. Again, a piece of pita, all right? V'nichnas acharav. And the house has been checked and you go in afterwards and look. Umatzah pirurim. And there we don't need, okay, after finding crumbs, ein sarich bedika, we don't need to do another bedika. Mipnei shedarko shel tinok lefarer. Okay, namely because here it is common for a child to make crumbs. The implication being, okay, that it was certainly the same piece of bread, a loaf, or pita that the child brought in, and that's what it is. And so that was new, so to speak, leaven, and not leaven that could have been left previously or might still be there. Okay, so we get a new case now. Again, but the question by Rava. So Rava asked the following question. As we continue with this Gemara, you're going to see some what I'll call permutations on this same topic. Rava inquired, Achbar nichnas ukikar b'fiv. The mouse enters and he has a loaf, pita, in his mouth. Va'achbar yotzei v'kikar b'fiv. And the mouse exits and there's this loaf in his mouth. Mahu, what's the situation? Okay. As we continue in the Gemara, we're going to guess first. Is it the same mouse, same piece of bread, or a different mouse, or a different piece of bread? And the Gemara continues. Mi amrinan hainu hai da'al v'hainu hai dinafak. Can we say that this is the one that came in and this is the one that left. O Dilma Acharinahu. Or perhaps it's a different one. Im Timselomar. And if you want to say, okay, as we continue, Hainu hai da'al v'hainu hai dinafak, right? That this is the one who came in and this is the same one that went out. Achbar lavan nichnas ukikar b'fiv. If it's a white mouse that enters with the bread, the loaf in its mouth. V'achbar shachor yotzei v'kikar b'fiv. And a black mouse exits with the loaf in its mouth. Mahu. Then what's the situation? Ha vadai achrinu. That certainly is a different mouse, right? O Dilma, or perhaps arumai arme mine. That one mouse sort of knocked it or took it out of the mouth of the other mouse. Ve'im timtzelomar. And if you want to say, achbarim lo shakle mahadade, that mice don't take the food one from another, right? Achbar nichnas ukikar b'fiv. Then a mouse enters with the bread, the loaf in its mouth. Vechulda yotzei v'kikar b'fiha. And a marten or a weasel exits with the loaf of bread in its mouth. Mahu, what's the situation? Why? Chulda vadai me'achbar shakalte. The marten or the weasel certainly from the mouse took it. O Dilma, or perhaps achrinahu. Maybe it's a different bread, a different loaf. De'im ita de me'achbar shakalte. That if he came and took it from the mouse, achbar b'fiha hava mishtakach. Then we should find the mouse itself also in the mouth of the chulda. Ve'im tertzelomar, and if you want to say, im ita de ma'achbar shakalte, that the chulda took it from the mouse, achbar b'fiha hava mishtakach. We would find the mouse in the mouth of the chulda. Achbar nichnas ukikar b'fiv, and the mouse came in and had bread, the loaf in its mouth. Vechulda yotzei v'kikar ve'achbar b'pi chulda, and the chulda, the marten or the weasel, goes out, and both the piece of bread and the mouse are in its mouth. Mahu, then what is the situation?
Wow.
Okay.
Take the axe and hit the mouse.
Hacha vadai ihu hu. Okay. Here, certainly it could be the same loaf, right? That the mouse had and now the chulda has. Or Dilma, or perhaps im ita de ihu, if it exists there. In other words, if he has it. Mihu kikar b'fi achbar mishtakach. Then it should be that the loaf is there. Also in the mouth of the mouse should be found there. Hava ba'e ishta chuche. Okay? And therefore, right, that is the problem that we find there. O Dilma, mishum be'ituta, perhaps out of fear, hunafal v'shakalte, that the mouse dropped the bread out of fear of the chulda, and then the chulda simply picked up the bread, right? Teku. We have no answer to all of these questions. Okay, just okay. logical progression of Gemara. Now, another question. By Rava, Rava asks with another question. Kikar b'shemei korah. Right? We have a loaf of bread that's resting on top of a beam. Okay? Tzrich sulam lahorida. And to bring it down, one would need to get a ladder to climb up to get the bread. O ein sarich. In other words, to do the search, right? To get it, to remove it. Or do we say it's not necessary? Excuse me. Mi amrin and kuli hai lo itrichuhu rabbanan. Do we say that for all this, the rabbis don't make the person do such an effort? Right? Kevan delo nachet minafshe, because the bread won't come down by itself. Lo ate lemichle. As a result, he won't come to eat it. O dilma, or perhaps zimnen de nafal va'ate lemichle, that perhaps that bread might fall from the ceiling beam and the person, excuse me, might come to eat it. Ve'im timsel omar, and if you want to say, zimnen de nafal va'ate lemichla, okay, that perhaps there are times that that bread might fall and he would come to eat it. How about the following? Kikar babor. Say there's a loaf in a pit, in a cistern. Tzrich sulam laha'alota. Does the person who owns that pit need a ladder to be able to climb down? Sorry. To lift up, to take it out? Or ein sarich, or he doesn't need it. Hacha vadai de lo avida de salka menafshe. Because here, says the Gemara, certainly it's not going to come up by itself. O dilma, or perhaps, zimnin denachid lema'abad tzorche, or perhaps the person is going to go down to do some other necessary thing, va'ate lemichle, and come to eat it. Im tirtze lomar, if you want to say, zimnin denachid letzorche, va'ata lemichle, that perhaps at times he's going to go down for some other need and come to eat it. Kikar b'fi nachash, when he's down there in the pit, in the cistern, he sees that the bread, the loaf, is in the mouth of a snake. Tzrich chabar lahotzi, does he need a snake charmer in order to get the bread out of the mouth of the snake, in order to remove the leaven? O ein sarich, or he doesn't need. So the Gemara says, now, begufe atrachuhu rabbanan. Okay, for himself, in other words, to do the mitzvah himself, the rabbis would require him to make the effort. B'mamone lo atrachuhu rabbanan. But in terms of his going out and spending money, the rabbis would not require him to do that kind of effort. Or dilma lo shana, or perhaps there's no difference. Teku. We stand unresolved. Oh, right. Now, okay. We get to a brand new Mishnah. All right. With this Mishnah, we're still dealing with the issue of Bedika. Okay? And in doing so, we're going to see a couple of elements. One is there a more appropriate time to do Badika than another time? Secondly, if there is a more appropriate time, what happens if you miss that time? Are you still expected to do Badika? Okay, so let's look into our Mishnah now. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, says Rabbi Yehuda, Bodkin or Yudalad. According to Rabbi Yehuda here, one has to do their search the eve of the 14th. Ubi Yudalad Shacharit. And I'm going to translate the Vav here as and, on the 14th in the morning. And U B'sha'at Habi'or. And at the time of the nullification, destruction. Okay, so it would appear from the Mishnah that Rabbi Yehuda is requiring 3 occasions, 3 separate searches. V'chachamim omrim, but the sages say, lo badak or yudalid, if one did not search the evening of the into the 14th, Yudalad, right? He should search on the 14th. In other words, during the day, in the morning. Lo badak biyudalad, if he did not do a search on the 14th, yivdok b'toch hamoed. He should search during the holiday, during Chol HaMoed. Lo badak b'toch hamoed. If he did not search during the holiday, on Chol HaMoed, yivdok la'achar hamoed. He should search after the holiday. So according to the Chachamim, it would appear that 1 search is sufficient. But if you miss that opportunity, there are other occasions where you still are chayev, are still obligated to do the search. Okay? Now, the Mishnah continues. Uma shemishayer, and what's left over, yinichenu b'tzin'ah. He should put in a secure place. Kadei shelo yehe tzarich b'dika acharav. So he doesn't have to do another search after it. Okay. Now the Gemara asks the question, my Tama de Rabbi Yehuda. What is Rabbi Yehuda's reason for it would appear 3 searches? Rav Chisda v'Rabba bar Rav Huna, the Amrei Travayu. They said, okay, the 2 of them, Keneged Shlosha Hashbatot Shebetorah. Sorry, that there are 3 searches to match up against the 3 times in the Torah where we are told, right, to eliminate, remove chametz from one's home. First case, lo yireh elecha chametz, right? That you should not see any chametz. Second case, v'lo yireh elecha seor. That's the second example. Third case, shivat yamim seor lo yimatzeh bevatechem. So those are the 3 examples. Now, what happens here? Ach b'yom rishon tashbitu seor mibatechem. Okay, so there that continues with the 3rd example. Okay. Now, Meitiv Rav Yosef. Rav Yosef challenges this and explains as follows. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, what Rabbi Yehuda is saying is, according to Rav Yosef, Kol shelo badak b'shlosha prakim halalu, one who did not search on these three occasions, shuv eino bodek. Okay,
And make
that
it,
person then, right, cannot search anymore. Alma, therefore, b'mikan ve'elech hu depligi. Sorry, but therefore from then on, that's where they disagree. That's Rav Yosef's explanation. Mar Zutra matne hachi. Mar Zutra taught it this way. Meitiv Rav Yosef. Rav Yosef challenged, right, based on the following. Rebbe Yehuda Omer, Kol shelo badak be'echad mishloshim parakim halalu. That Rabbi Yehuda says, whoever did not search at one of the three following time periods, let's say, shuv eino bodek, then can no longer search. Alma, therefore, beshuv eino bodek hu depligi. It's on the issue of furthermore they cannot teach. That's where their argument is. Ela Rabbi Yehuda, nami im lo badak ka'amar. But Rabbi Yehuda, right, also, right, in this case, if he did not search, is saying, Bahacha bahaka miflagei, that this is what we're doing. Mar savar mikme isura, and batar isura lo. That one master, in a sense, is saying, before the prohibition entails, I'm going to say, yes, you can search. Batar isura, but after the prohibition entails, no. Gezerah dilma ate lamicha minei. For it, lest the decree, what? Lest the person come to eat it. Right? The Rabbanan savre, but the rabbis hold, lo gazrin, and we don't make such a decree. Umi gazar Rabbi Yehuda, and did Rabbi Yehuda actually make a gezira, dilma ate lemechal minei, lest one come to eat of it? Vahatanan. But isn't it taught elsewhere in a, right, in a Braita? Mishakarav ha'omer yotz'in umotze'in shukei Yerushalayim shehem mele'im kemach b'keli. Okay, that what happens is at the time when the Omer offering is out, in other words, is being available, being offered, the yotz'in umotze'in, that they can go out, people can go out and find the Omer there in the places of Jerusalem, okay? They can find flour and oven-dried grain that's available, okay? Why? We'll go over just a tiny bit. Shelo b'ratzon chachamim. But that is against the wishes of the sages. Devrei Rabbi Meir. That's the view of Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, but Rabbi Yehuda says, b'ratzon chachamim osin, that they did it with the understanding, with the wishes of the sages. V'lo kagazar Rabbi Yehuda, and Rabbi Yehuda did not make a decree there, dilma ate lemicha minei, lest people come and eat from it. Okay? So that's where we're going to stop right there, because there seems then to be a machloket also as to whether Rabbi Yehuda holds by a gezerah or doesn't hold by a gezerah. And then that's what we'll pick up tomorrow to see an explanation. Is there a contradiction with Rabbi Yehuda's view or not. Okay? So everybody have a good day and take care, and especially stay well.
Thank you, Rabbi. You too.
Have a good day.
Thank you very much. Have a great day, everyone.
Good day, everybody.
Take care.
Shirley,
Call from Ivanville, Eddie.
who's that? Oh,
What is it, Marvin?
no, I'm fine.
All right, have a good day, Marvin.
You too, everybody.